This has to go a little back. Anyways, so we'll discuss about thin corneas, because thin cornea is something wherein if it's less than 400 microns, there is a risk of damage to endothelium. So CXL, as we all know, is an established modality, but there are certain issues like patient can have pain, you can have, it's a long duration, and in thin corneas there are issues. Why it's an issue? Because if its thickness is less than 400 microns, there is risk of UV toxicity to endothelium. And that is why there have been efforts. So the basic reason is UV toxicity to endothelium. So that is why if you can just raise the UV focus, or maybe increase the separation of endothelium from the UV rays, perhaps the endothelial toxicity will not be that much. And that is the rationale that has been followed in order to cross-link the thin corneas, and various methods have been described, and let's see what people have done. So one is use of hypoosmolar riboflavin. So instead of dextran, it is in 0.9% saline, and that's how it's hypoosmolar. And what it does, when you use hypoosmolar riboflavin, it swells up the cornea. So if it's, say, 350 microns, 360 microns, it swells up to 400, so it is safe. The distance from the UV rays and the endothelium is now safe. It is more than 400 microns, so that achieves its purpose. However, the point is that what do you do in cross-linking? In cross-linking, you cross-link the collagen fibrils. You increase the strength of the collagen fibrils. You want compactness of the cornea. And here, the collagen fibrils have separated because of hypoosmolar riboflavin, and then again you are trying to compact it by cross-linking. So the results have been, many studies have been done, and they have found out that the results of hypoosmolar riboflavin is not as good as the conventional Dresden protocol that as we do normally in normal thickness of cornea. So the toxicity is less, but the efficacy is not there. So that is one. However, having said that, if you have an option, if you don't have any other option and you have to cross-link, hypoosmolar still works, but it is not as good as, the results are not as much as a conventional cross-linking that is done in a normal thickness of cornea. Then people started thinking again in those lines that, okay, we don't separate the collagen fibrils, let's put something like a bandage contact lens over it, so that the thickness increases and you again have a gap between the UV rays and the endothelium. That was the principle behind Susan Jacobs' study, and they did with bandage contact lens. However, once again, there is a paradox. You have the safety to the endothelium, but as we all know that cross-linking works only in the anterior half or anterior two-thirds of cornea. And part of it is being covered by the bandage contact lens, which is discarded later. So the strength or the efficacy will not be as good as a conventional cross-linking done in the normal cornea. Then people, as refractive surgery came into being, it has advanced, and then we have SMILE. And then we had SMILE, we have a SMILE lenticule, which is discarded. So people started thinking of putting SMILE lenticule over the cornea to separate instead of bandage contact lens. Once again, it has the safety to endothelium, but efficacy is also there, but not as good as the cornea. So people started working on implanting something into the cornea, and that is how we also started doing this study. And what we do is that in less than 400 microns of corneal thickness, you create a stromal pocket, put a lenticule inside, put riboflavin in the pocket, put a lenticule inside, do a cross-linking, and see how it works. So this is how we do at RP Center. So with any platform, you can use a SMILE platform that is being used here, and to create a small pocket and then dissection. So femtosecond laser is being used to create a separation at the level of 120 microns, 140 microns. And then you have a side cut, as you can see here. And then once the femtosecond laser has been done, you separate it, and after doing the separation with the spatula, you put riboflavin into the pocket. भैया एवी ये लाइट नहीं ऑफ हो सकती कर दो यार लाइट ऑफ करो. And this is the lenticule that has been fashioned from a donor cornea. And we put riboflavin for 1 minute on this lenticule as well. And then this lenticule is introduced into the stromal pocket. And then gradually spread. You have to be gentle in introducing it. So normally what we do is that we take a lenticule of 150 to 200 microns depending upon the thickness of the cornea, because we understand that it will also gradually thin out later, because when you take a donor lenticule, the stroma is slightly edematous, so it will thin out. So here with a slit beam you check that there is no fold at the edges, because sometimes there is a risk of having a small fold. And then you cross-link the cornea. So this is the day one picture. As you can see, the lenticule is quite swollen, and day one it is swollen. But as you move on, the thickness of the lenticule reduces, once the thickness reduces, you do have flattening effect as well. And what we have done, I have not shown the whole of study because it is something that we will be sending for publication. So what we have found out that the demarcation line in these group of patients is quite deep. And most of the patients have a demarcation line at a depth of 389, 380, 400 microns. Depth. So that is something which is really very good. I mean, this thickness, it is a 3-month period, and this thickness is along with the lenticule. So since the depth of demarcation line is quite deep down, so we expect a good results. The initial results are good. Let's see how it behaves in the long term. Then another option in thin corneas, people have done transepithelial CXL. However, transepithelial doesn't work that well because of the lack of penetration of riboflavin as well as low oxygen. So people have started working on transepithelial by by using supplemental oxygen, by doing custom debridement. People have left a little bit of epithelium on the cone because the cone is the thinnest area, debrided the rest of the part, or done a crisscross to have some penetration of riboflavin. But more or less, finally, all these things have been done, and there are a couple of reports, but then finally they have been, they are not being used because the results are not good. This study also shows that the penetration of riboflavin under the area of intact epithelium was less. And when you are leaving the epithelium on the cone, which is thinnest, and there the effect is less, then the work completely doesn't solve the purpose. And that's what in customized cross-linking he will be presenting, that you have to work more on the cone and less on the surrounding areas. So the purpose is defeated. This is also something which we have now started doing, although we have just got the ethics approval and we will work on it. So initially, it's use of supplemental oxygen. We will be doing cross-linking in thin corneas with the epithelium. That is the subsequent study. But the first study will be in a conventional conventional cross-linking, accelerated cross-linking will be done, 9 milliwatt per centimeter square for 10 minutes. In corneas which are more than 400 microns. And it will be compared with eyes wherein oxygen supplementation will be done. So we'll just see, and if it works better, then maybe, these supplemental oxygen can be used in very thin corneas by keeping the epithelium intact, and only time will tell. So these are all guesses that the questions that are still unanswered. So thank you very much, and as I said, that the next topic will be customized cross-linking by Dr. J.K. Reddy. So he will discuss customized cross-linking, and then we can have 1 or 2 questions, and then intracorneal ring segment, and then subsequently.